Hello beautiful creative friends, it's Belinda and welcome back to my channel. If December albums ever start to feel a little heavy or hard to keep up with, I really hope that you'll find today's video helpful or inspiring. I've created a set of simple 6x8 foundation or base pages for a December album using the November Hip Kit Club kits. These are pages that are quick to put together, really flexible to finish, and they're designed to help keep me moving without needing everything to be perfect or complete. Of course, if you've already got all of your photos and stories ready to go, I hope that these pages will provide you with some fast and fun ideas to finish off that December album. So each of these pages is going to feature a hand or some kind of hand stitched element. For this first one here, which is using a 6x8 paper from the Pocket Life kit, I saw these trees and I thought it would be a really fun idea to stitch a spine and some branches on them. So I've shown you the full process here where I'm using my ruler sometimes, but I'm using a pencil to draw a line where I want my stitching to go. Then I am poking the holes using my pokey tool, and that's just a piece of thick, dense foam that I use behind it. You can see there I have shown you what it looks like with the pencil lines and the holes poked in, and then I just use an eraser to rub out those pencil lines before I come back in with stitching. So for this one, I've just chosen some threads which I use 3 strands of thread in matching colors for each of the trees. And then to house my photo and my story on this one, I've created a vellum pocket that's using the die from July 2025, and I'll add a link to that in the description box. I didn't cut it all the way because I knew that it was going to be a pocket with just a front side rather than the full-sized pocket. So when I ran it through my die machine, I positioned it so that the die was off the top of the vellum. I've trimmed it down, and now I have created what is going to be the tag to sit inside this pocket. That is using one of the 12x12 pattern papers. I just really loved how bright and fun all of those different Christmassy words were. So I've just cut it down to size. I used the pocket as a guide. I have used a corner punch to punch off the edges of that, and then I'm just using my little punch. It's not a hole punch, it's a slot punch, because I want to add some nice thick twine in here. And as you can see, I had cut it down to, I think it was about 3 inches wide, but it was too wide to slot inside the pocket. So I've just trimmed a little bit down and then repunched those corners again. I'm not too concerned about you being able to see the adhesive holding the flaps of this pocket down because the tag is going to be tucked into it most of the time. So being able to see this tape behind vellum, which is just, it's pretty unavoidable. Once upon a time, you used to be able to buy some vellum adhesive that you couldn't see through, but I don't actually think that exists anymore. So I'm using just some tape there. For me, I want to keep that card tucked into the pocket when I'm adhering it down, and that just means that I'm not going to have the whole thing stuck down too tightly to be able to move the tag in and out. So that's my little tip if you are creating pockets, is when you are sticking your pockets together or sticking them down, it's always a really good idea to have the inserts for the pockets sitting in there just to make sure that the pockets don't become too tight once everything is adhered down. And I am adding just a little bit of wet adhesive there on the parts of that pocket that are going to be sitting up against the stitching. That's just a little bit of a fail-safe because tapes don't typically adhere very well to any kind of textural elements. So I will have a 3x4 photo sitting over the top of that pocket, and then the idea is that the tag inside is going to hold my journaling, maybe another photo. I've also grabbed one of those foam stickers. I really loved the Christmas tree shape. I thought that worked really well with this page. And then I'm using some stars from the epoxy sticker set, which is an add-on set for the November 2025 kits, and just adding some stars to the top of each of those trees, again in a coordinating color. Originally I had used 2 different sized stars, but I didn't really like that, so I've pulled them back off again and I've just used the small stars, tucked that twine in, and that page is all done. So moving on to page number 2, this one is going to be a pocket page with 4 3x4 slots. 2 of those slots are going to be photos. So I've just used these placeholders for the purposes of recording the video, and then later on when you see the photos of the completed pages at the end, you'll see I've subbed them out for more photo-like placeholders to give you an idea of how they look. Now this is another pattern paper from the 12x12 paper packs. On one side is all of those sort of stitched design 3x4 cards, but I wanted the polka dot design, so I've trimmed them down and just chosen one of the 3x4 card designs that I probably will not use for any of my albums, and that is a snowflake. It is the middle of summer where I am in Perth in Western Australia, and in fact Christmas Day today was Christmas Day this year broke the record as the hottest Christmas day on record for us. So snowflakes definitely don't work for me. And what I wanted to create on this card is a stacked tree design. That is a design that is repeated in a few different places throughout this kit. It's on some pocket cards. I think it's in a couple of the embellishments as well, but I wanted to make it a little bit more dimensional. So I've cut some triangles from 3 different pattern papers. I have hand stitched a border around each of those using this is just a really it's a big roll that I have of an embroidery thread that's just like a single twisted strand. I don't quite know exactly what it's called, but it's nice and thin. Just use some white there, and you can see that I have also added some gold machine stitching around the border of that polka dot card, and also the journal card, which is going to go down the bottom right there, which is also from the Pocket Life kit. So to layer these triangles up, because the stitched borders add a little bit of dimension to the outside of the triangles, I have used a foam square in the center just to help keep them nice and flat. And I've just layered those up, and I used the polka dots as a guide to keep them nice and straight, which worked really, really well. And then I've just gone through the different embellishment packs here. I've got the chipboard embellishments and some of the die cut embellishments, and I've just chosen a few little things that I think coordinate well, and I have popped those down in little clusters over the top of each of the photo placeholders. Now that may not actually be the embellishments that I use, but it's a really good starting off point. Okay, we are moving quickly on to page number 3. This is another 6x8 paper from the Pocket Life kit. I really liked that border, the square borders, and seeing the polka dots, the pink polka dot border on the inside gave me an idea to stitch a pocket there. So I've trimmed some vellum down so that it is the same width as the white space on that paper. And then I'm just going to tape it in place using some low tack tape so that I can then bring in my stitch tool, and I'm going to, while the vellum is laid over the top, I'm going to poke the holes through using each of those pink dots as my guide for where the holes need to go. I'm only stitching the bottom half because this is going to be a pocket. Then I'm going to take it off, I'm only poking holes in the bottom half of vellum. Take it off, finish poking holes with my tool. Then I will trim the vellum down to the right size, which it's not quite halfway up the pocket, but you did see me just make a little pencil mark on it before I started stitching. And then use the tape, going to position it back over the holes again, use the tape. And then for that one, I have used all 6 strands of an embroidery floss. Because those polka dots were really quite big, I wanted to make sure that my stitching covered them up. And I also just really liked that really chunky stitched look there. So to sit inside this pocket, I'm going to make two fairly large tags that layer one on top of the other. I really liked this pink pattern paper. This is a 12 by 12 paper from the kit. I grabbed my ruler and measured the inside of that stitch to give me the size. And then when I sort of guessed how big I wanted the second tag that layered on top to go, I ended up cutting it too short. So I did use the 6 by 8 paper for that, but it was too short. So I've gone ahead and grabbed the leftovers of this 12 by 12 that I had used for the tag on page number 1, and I'm going to recut that. So I'm making sure that I have got the width of the piece is going to sit nicely inside the pocket, and then I've only taken about a half to, I think, 3/4 of an inch off the height compared to that pink page. And I tried to have a look at the text and tried to find a way to trim that down so that there was different types of text. So for this one, I sort of kept the festive treats there. I have no idea what I'm going to use this page for. It may be that I use it for some documenting some of the food that we ate, and I might highlight those words there. I don't know. We'll see when I come time to put my album together. I've used my corner punch again to chop off those corners, and then that little notch punch to punch holes in each of the tags. Then I've just grabbed some ribbon from my stash. One is that really nice tealy green, and then a pink rickrack. I'm keeping this one really simple in terms of embellishing. I'm just grabbing one of those foam titles. That one says "'Tis the Season." Fussed around with where to place it and ended up with having it sit towards the top on that vellum pocket, and that page is now also done. This is page number 4 now, another pocket page. For this pocket page, I have a 4x6 card on the bottom and a 6x4 card on the bottom and 2 3x4s on the top. On the reverse side of this card, in the design, there were some ornaments coming down from the top, and I really liked that, but I wanted to add a little bit more interest and dimension. So instead, I have stitched the lines coming down from the top of the page, and I'm sorry that was that one was that was out of focus, but here we go, we'll try again. That one's in focus. So I've stitched them down using a gold embroidery thread, and then I have punched these ornaments just using a circle punch from this paper that came in the Pocket Life kit, and then I'm going to use those circles as the ornaments hanging from the stitched gold lines there. To give those ornaments a little bit of dimension and to help them sit above the stitching, I'm just adding a little foam circle behind each of them. I probably put way too much thought into the positioning of these. Initially, I was kind of looking at the colours of the baubles and where they were going to sit next to the colours in the text. But then I realised that 2 of them had the same pattern, so I wanted to shift them around just to make sure that I didn't have 2 of the same patterns next to each other. Again, I'm going to overthink this way more than I need to. I've grabbed these epoxy stickers and I wanted to add something to the top of each of the little baubles, just as my initial idea was to add a bow, but I just know that I would not have been able to tie a bow small enough for those. So these little epoxy stickers worked instead. Initially, I thought I was going to coordinate with the color of the border of each of the circles, but then I realized that the border was the same color because it was cut from a pink paper. So instead, I've gone with these enamel stickers in colors that actually coordinate with the main color in the bauble itself. And then I need to create a journal card for that top right hand pocket. The top left pocket is going to be my photo placeholder. And I wanted to bring in some more of that gold thread. This little tag piece here is cut from one of the cut apart sheets in the Pocket Life kit. I have the coordinating dies and they are just so handy for getting those pieces cut out really nice and clean and quick and easy. And I wanted to use the stamps also from the Pocket Life kit. I really liked this "'Tis the Season" and the little tree. I wanted to test out my inks first just to see which color combination I wanted to go with. I was pretty happy with the tealy green for the tree. And then I decided to go with the black for that 'Tis the Season. Now I realized that I wasn't going to be able to fit both stamps on the actual tag without them overlapping. So I just decided to go with it. I've stamped my little tree first. Wasn't really happy with the first impression. Thankfully, I was able to line it up perfectly to get a second impression, and I'm much happier with that. And then the 'Tis the Season is going to layer over the top of the little tree. Originally, I was just going to have that sit onto a white journal card, but I just thought it needed a little, this page was a bit too white on white. So I've grabbed that same 6x8 paper that I cut the baubles from. I've trimmed a piece down to 3x4, and then I have cut my journal card down so that there's about a 1/4 of an inch border on each side. Now, to adhere this little stamped tag down, I'm going to run some of that same gold twine through each of the little notches, and I'm just doubling it over, running it through, and then looping it back on itself to tie it nice and tight. I initially thought I would try and use that to wrap around the card a couple of times, but I just realized it wasn't going to work. So I've cut another piece of the twine, adhered it onto the back, I've wrapped it around a few times, grabbed out my tape, and then stuck that down and trimmed off the end. And now I can bring that 'Tis the Season tag through, and I don't have to worry about trying to fuss around with getting the twine to wrap around and sit underneath itself. I can just wrap it around the back and then tape it down. It ends up not quite centered, but I just go ahead and leave it. It is close enough to be good enough. And then I stick that down. And to finish off, just very quickly there, you saw a chipboard piece, which will be my little embellishment for the photo. So we are on page number 5, and for this one I wanted to use that really cute Fair Isle stamp. It is a square, like a quilted design stamp. I've just grabbed a piece of white cardstock and I've cut it down so it is the full size of a page protector there. So that's going to sit outside of the pocket and take up the full size of the page protector. Now I'm using this grey ink just to give myself a bit of a guide because I had a pretty clear idea of what I wanted to do here. I wanted to have those in sort of a diamond pattern in 3 different spots around the page, and then add some stitching between each of them in sort of a grid design. So you can see I've marked out where my hole punch, where the holes are going to be punched for it to go into the album. Then I've just used that grey ink, really fairly light grey ink, just to mark out where the stamps are going to go. And then I'm using my ruler once again to rule lines, creating a grid, and then I will come back and do the same thing that I have done for every little stitched piece so far and use my pokey tool to poke some holes. Sometimes I will be really fussy about the spacing, but for all of these I wanted them to be quick and easy, so I just eyeballed them. There it is, all stitched. You can see I used a variegated thread, just the three strands. The colors just coordinated so perfectly with the colors in this kit. It was like it was meant to be. And then off camera, I have stamped a bunch of those Fair Isle square quilted stamps in colors that coordinate, ink colors that coordinate. I've cut them out now and I'm just going to lay them down, trying to make sure that I am balancing my colors as best as I can. One of those greens didn't actually make the cut. It was a bit too bright limey green for it just turned out the wrong kind of green. So I don't use any of those. I'm going to place them down first, then I will come and adhere them. Most of them I'm just using a tape runner to adhere them down, but the red ones I wanted to add a little bit more dimension. So behind each of the red quilted squares, I'm going to use some foam tape just to pop those off the page a little bit. So you're going to watch me adhering all of these down, and then to add some space for a photo and some journaling, I'm going to create a little bit of a flip out there using some vellum. I've chosen to use vellum a couple of times here because I like that see-through element, and I like that I can use vellum and still see what I've done on the background, that really hard work stitching in the background. So creating a little flip out, you'll see there is a placeholder for my photo, and I have also used a journal card from the Pocket Life kit. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you would like to check out the Hip Kit Club kits I used for this project, I will leave my affiliate link and discount code Belinda Jane in the description box below. That gives you 10% off your first order, and it really helps to support my channel too. I'd also really love for you to come and join me over on the exciting new Craft and Connect community. It's a wonderful creative space full of inspiration and support, and it's really great for those of us who are trying to reduce the amount of time that we spend on social media. There are both free and paid membership options, and I will leave the link to join in the description box as well. I really hope that this project inspires you to get creative and to get cracking on that December album. If you have enjoyed it, I would love for you to like, comment, and subscribe so that you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. I will leave it there for now and say thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.